Hello, everyone. I'm just getting this show ready. This is going out to KGRA radio tonight. So stand by, stand by. Sure, we'll get some riffraff in here. Get ready for some epic kicks. Gonna kick. All right. I don't know. Is this being recorded? Can I record this space? What the heck? I'm running it off my desktop so that I can channel the audio through to radio. There is Transmedium. That's my buddy Andy. He has requested. Nope. Somebody else has requested. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait on letting you up there, Hex. Sorry, buddy. Give it a sec. Andy, I could see you're a listener, but you got a request to become a speaker. There we go. Approve. Andy? Yeah, I can hear you. How you doing, buddy? I'm good. The crowd is slowly coming in. I'm getting it ready so that I can add this to the stream to KGRA radio. So people are early. That's cool. We got about 6 minutes and 25 seconds before we go live. All right.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Let's see. Hex. I'm looking into you here, Hex. Lifelong interest in the UFO phenomenon, paranormal, supernatural, and mysticism. Amateur researcher and journalist, disclosure activist, and awareness advocate. You sound just like me, man. Except for the I usually wouldn't say I'm like a paranormal or supernatural investigator. That's usually like ghosts, and I'm not a ghost guy, straight up. Everybody can do that though. Just waiting up here. We got an other listener. I'm assuming this is like maybe part of the Tupa crew or something. They don't want to show who they are. I don't know. It's fine. It can be another listener. 5 minutes to go here, folks. Nick, I want you to come up and speak. So request whenever you want, and I'll elevate you. And I'm guessing not. You can right now. I got to get my buddy Pastor Dale into the space. Believe it or not. Darcy's Believe It or Not.
Hi, Darcy. How's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Doing all right. I heard that you guys got everything sorted out after I left the meeting yesterday.
Yeah, we dialed it in. So I've actually got the Twitter space open. I'm just waiting till the last 3 minutes here to launch the. Should I just go for it? Should I go live now?
Totally up to you. If you, I would probably wait till like maybe a minute before, just because some people are probably anticipating that it starts at a certain time, so they might want to tune in for that first little bit there. And then just a refresher for me, since I don't think we went over all the details. I know Bill brushed me up a little bit, but you're managing everything. You're hitting the go live. You're doing all your intro, outro videos.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And then same with chat as well. Are you managing chat?
You could manage chat if you want.
Okay, yeah. And what I mean, just to fill you in, as far as managing chat, some shows like to put their comments up on the screen.
Yeah.
Are you okay if I do that for you?
Yeah, I'm okay with it as long as you don't pop up some garbage.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not gonna put anything nasty up.
Thanks.
Nope, about that. And I have the ability on some platforms to kick out bots and things like that too. So if
Sweet.
I see any of that pop up, I'll make sure that those get taken care of.
I might have some Gaia trolls and stuff pop in there. You never know. There's Dave Falch and Dale. I'm going to pop those guys up. Dave. Hey, guys. I just want to introduce the whole crew to Dale and Dave Falch. So Dave Falch was part of the recent documentary I released about Puerto Rico with Andy Marcial in there. He did the analysis of the Aguadilla 2013 UAP footage. You don't have to talk right now, Dave, but I just wanted to introduce you to everybody. And then everybody else, OAO, friend Pastor Dale. I'm not a religious guy by any means, but this guy is, salt of the earth. I wanted to sort of intro my shows with a enlightening thought, some kind of positive way to look at life right now, because we're surrounded by negativity. And I just wanted to kick off the show with Pastor Dale's stories. So
Fantastic.
anyways, I'm going to go live on KGRA now.
Have a great show.
And we're going live.
You want me to go ahead and start?
Not just yet, my man. How you feeling, by the way?
I'm still sick, but I'm here. I'm committed.
Thank you, brother. I really appreciate that. So first, I'm just going to play my intro here. This is actually on YouTube. People can go to Occult Journeys, at Occult Journeys, to watch this. But here's the intro for the show. Last night on UFO Twitter. All right, that's the intro to my show with Andy Marcial. I'm going to pipe in everybody now from X, and we'll get the chat going. Where is it? Where's X? Oh, that's weird. Give me a sec. Close that.
Can't have a debut without technical difficulties.
You can't.
Well, I was at the Cyril meeting Sunday night, and that's Yvonne's abductee group, and we just called it them. We're having all kinds of technical problems. We just called it them.
Damn. Okay, I'm gonna be right. Oh, if I end this, then maybe that's why. Okay. Give me a sec. There we go. All right, everybody on the interwebs and KGRA. I am currently live on Twitter Spaces. So for the future, if people want to interact with the X crowd that's live with us tonight, they can head over there. I'm going to start basically having people speak from UFO Twitter. You can see them up on the screen there. And I wanted to, hey, Dallas from Facebook, good to hear from you. I wanted to bring up Dale, Pastor Dale, my good, my buddy online right now, to tell a story, just something positive for the community, because we got a lot of negativity going on. Go for it, Dale.
Thank you, Darcy. It's good being here. It's good to see all you guys, or to join you anyway on this great UFO Twitter week. I love the name, Darcy, by the way. UFO Treehouse. I don't think you could have done better than that. Well, my goal is to bring words of hope, wisdom, and inspiration. And so let me start by asking this question. What's the difference between hope and hopelessness? What's the difference between hope and hopelessness? Well, sometimes it can be who you listen to. And so be careful who you listen to. For example, when my oldest daughter turned about 12 years old, we knew something was going on, and we weren't sure what it was. But, you know, junior high, that's a tough time for all teenagers or kids going in. So it was about time she was going into junior high. And we ended up going to having a state caseworker evaluate because we knew something was going on. And she diagnosed her preliminarily anyway with autism. And so she recommended that we go to the CDRC in Eugene, which is the place you go and get officially diagnosed for autism. And so about 2 weeks later, we took her there. And I'll never forget, after the testing was over, one of the doctors came up to me and he told me, he said, you need to start saving as much money as you can, because your daughter's going to be disabled the rest of her life and not be able to take care of herself. And as you can imagine, as a parent, man, I was floored. But I refused to accept that diagnosis. And so I started trying to encourage my daughter that she could be whoever she wanted to be. But the words of that doctor had kind of sank into her head, and she was telling me that she was going to be disabled the rest of her life. And she even, in fact, asked me to quit trying to encourage her, because she said, Dad, if it doesn't happen, I'm going to be devastated. But I persisted. Now, in junior high, she had a terrible time. In fact, 7th grade nearly killed her. And so I took her out of the junior high and I put her in a Christian school, and she couldn't do that. Then I tried Connections Academy, which is an online school, and she couldn't do that. And so the Christian school was about a month. Online Connections Academy was about a week school. And then I decided in desperation to put her back in the junior high. And the Friday I put her back in, they had a 3-hour lockdown because of some threats. And you can imagine what that did to her. And so we pulled her out. It was looking pretty hopeless, but they went ahead and sent us the papers to put her in high school. And we went ahead and put her in. And it turned out that was one of the best decisions we made, because the high school was much more prepared to be able to give her an environment that she could learn in. In fact, the thing that blew me away was that she went literally from 7th grade to 9th grade and got all A's. And so by the time she got the first year done, the freshman year done, she started to believe, hey, maybe I can graduate from high school. Maybe I can have a life. And by the time she graduated from high school, she got like a 3.94 GPA. She was top 10% in her class. And that last year or two, she started going, you know what, Dad? I'm going to go to college. I'm going to go to college. And today she's over at Oregon State University. She's in her 3rd year, and she's working on a PhD.
Holy snap.
So be careful who you listen to. Now, I tell this story to inspire you, to give you hope. See, there are all kinds of voices that are telling us we can't. Maybe one of those voices is coming from you. Let me tell you something. I don't care where the voice is coming from. If it's making you feel hopeless, then that's the voice or the voices that you shouldn't be listening to. Now, I went over and visited with Yvonne Smith this weekend, and I had a lot of doubts about something. And I kept telling myself, I can and I will. And so let me just encourage you, if you've got those negative voices around you, if people keep telling you you can't, you tell them you can. And you start saying that mantra, I can and I will. And so let me close this little saying with what I began with. Be careful who you listen to.
100%. I couldn't agree with you more there, Dale. Really impressed with those words of motivation and your daughter's backstory. I mean, I will add that my whole life, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people in this group, this space tonight, would share the same sort of experiences. I've had relatives, my family members tell me I can't succeed, I can't do this, can't do that. I've had trolls online, say I've got the shittiest films on the planet Earth and blah, blah, blah. I've worked with people in the industry and they, look down on me and I just keep coming up. So, and funny enough, when I was in high school, my world history teacher, who I actually adored, he was super funny, super personable, had really interesting views, told it the way it was, which is, how I try to do my documentaries. I try to just straight facts if I can, right? And he said, Darcy, you're probably not going to go to university. You're at best going to make it in community college. And I'm like, wow. It crushed me when he said that in front of a whole classroom.
Wow.
And I was like, I think I said fuck you, buddy, or something like that at the back of the class. And he was cool about it. But, fast forward, I went to a technical film school and I did a technical diploma. And I did go to university and I graduated with a bachelor's. I'm not a rocket scientist, but I ran into him somehow, walking around my old neighborhood after all of that. And I said to him, hey, man, I've got a degree. I'm working in my field, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, really? And I could just see the look on his face. He fucking felt really bad that he embarrassed me like that. And I think even in this community, people try to embarrass each other and take each other down instead of prop each other up, because they actually get a dopamine hit off of that. They're addicted to either calling BS on other people or taking other people down. And that dopamine hit, is what they live off of. It's not a healthy way to live for maybe Dale or I or some other people, but they still do it. And I think it's a reckless way to live, and it ends up really affecting our reality around us negatively. Because if you believe in consciousness affecting matter, for example, or our reality, that negativity is just it's BS, and I don't like it. But sometimes you do have to call BS on stuff. I totally agree with that too. Dale, thank you so much for speaking. You're welcome to stick around as a speaker. Maybe mute your mic so I can introduce some other people here. And thank you, man. Appreciate it. Dave is here. Dave Falch, I'm going to introduce you real quick. So, and just before that, I've got Transmedium UFO, who's my buddy Andy, Andy Marciel. He's helped me make the most recent documentary where we traveled to Puerto Rico. Great guy. I could call him a close friend at this point. And, you know, he's a Puerto Rican native. He's an experiencer. He's seen UFOs with his very own eyes at a young age in Puerto Rico. And he convinced me that we had to sort of cover the Puerto Rican beat, sort of look into the history and mystery of UFOs over there. And because of his inspiration, you know, I ended up reaching out to Jorge Martin, who's like an OG UFO journalist living in Puerto Rico. He's been doing it for 4 decades. And yeah, I just got to say, man, thanks, Andy, for your contribution to the film and to my life, really, because you helped me grow as a filmmaker by being a part of this story. So everybody say hi to Andy. Andy, say hi to the crowd.
Hi, guys, and thank you, Darcy. Appreciate that. It's been my pleasure.
Great, man. Awesome. So people may not have seen my recent film. It's recently out. I just completed some interviews. I did one with Richard Dolan. I did another one today with Matt Ford. So gradually people will hear a bit more about that adventure that Andy and I took part in on the island. But you know, it essentially started off by us reaching out to this journalist. He said he could plug us into to speak with some people that are in Puerto Rico who are experiencers. And essentially, as soon as I realized that we could get an in-person interview with the CBP agent who was responsible for leaking the Department of Homeland Security's Aguadilla 2013 UAP footage, we were like stoked to go and do this. So we flew out there. We interviewed him. We interviewed a bunch of other Puerto Rican natives who've, you know, seen the phenomenon. And got back from that, edited the whole documentary together. It's been released now. Dave Falch was part of this journey because he actually did if you're looking at Dave Falch's Twitter page, he's actually a FLIR, a forward-looking infrared camera repair guy. He's been doing it professionally for a number of years for a company that services the type of cameras that the CBP planes have and a whole bunch of other different parts of industry. And he originally actually did work with Mick West. Mick really wanted Dave to be a tool to debunk FLIR footage that actually showed authentic UAPs. And when he kind of said, no, I'm not down with debunking this because it seems to be authentic, it seems to be real, they had a falling out. But Dave, why don't you introduce yourself and you can unmute your, there you go.
Hey everybody, how we doing tonight?
Good.
What's up, Dave?
So yeah, that was a good introduction, Darcy. It did start off like that with Mick West, where it was kind of cordial in the beginning, and then a lot of people would kind of reach out to me on instant message or the direct message and say, "Hey, you might want to watch out for this guy because he's got ulterior motives." And I should have listened to him, but I just kind of went on my own little way. and he started to use the videos that I was giving him to his advantage to debunk when I was actually just saying, hey, look, it's kind of an anomaly. So that's where I deviated from his confirmation bias and decided to come up with my own certain conclusions.
That's crazy. Yeah. So I brought up Osap Rocky here. A lot of people may know him. He's a good buddy of mine too. Really appreciate his contributions to the community and the way he looks at the phenomenon and analyzes the sort of ESP slash, let's say, like social system side of things. We have a lot of the same ideas, which is pretty cool. Everybody say hi to him. Dave, what's going on with the jellyfish footage? What do you think of that?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, Dave.
Okay, I'm just confirming. Well, at first I thought it was like some kind of crack in the detector or some kind of anomaly, but the more I watched the video, it seemed to be an object that is traversing through that particular area, and it's not anything that I've ever seen before. And it does kind of it almost kind of masks itself with the way the pixels go from hot to black. It's something I really haven't seen. That's why I kind of came to the conclusion that might be some kind of DARPA project, but I'm reaching on that one. I really have no idea. It's not anything that I've seen, and that was taken from probably Westcam MX-20 that was tethered from a balloon over there in that region. I believe that was like what was it, Afghanistan or something like that.
Iraq or something?
But
Yeah, I guess it was Afghanistan.
yeah, it was somewhere over there.
So
But yeah,
you don't think it was like,
I was just gonna say I made a video on YouTube.
oh yeah. People check out his YouTube. What's your YouTube channel called?
I don't know if it's actually got a name. I just always
It's just Dave
Google,
Falch, right?
Dave Falch YouTube.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
Dave
it's just his
Right,
name.
correct.
Yeah. So he's got some pretty cool analysis up there. He shows literally what the, and even if you click on his Twitter page, you could see a FLIR photo that I think is a still from one of these MX-20 or MX-15 systems. Am I assuming that right?
It's a different system. It's a FLIR system opposed to a Westcam, but it's of what is that, an F-35 Lightning or something? I believe that's what it is.
And so it shows clearly what the jet stream of a fighter jet would look like in FLIR. That's one of the points of contention that Mick West has about the Tic Tac footage. He thinks it's just either an anomaly, which he's had that debate with Merrick. He thinks it's either an anomaly in the actual camera technology, or it's like a distant fighter jet and you're looking at the jet stream behind it, which it wouldn't look like the Tic Tac. But on Dave's channel, you can also see quite clearly what a Mylar balloon looks like moving in that kind of FLIR technology. What a latex balloon looks like, what a drone would look like, what a bird would look like. I think you have a bird in some of your shots, don't you?
I believe so. Probably on the UFO, the one that I caught. I think I had a comparison.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And then he actually has his own experience capturing a UAP while he was at work with one of these FLIR systems that was not visible to the human eye, not visible in the light spectrum of a camera that was shooting in the sky at the same time. The light spectrums that the human eye should see in, but it was visible in the FLIR spectrum, which is pretty cool.
What I wanted to add this to that in regards to Dave is, it was because of Dave's experiments that he did with different objects that the SCU was able to ultimately confirm that the footage he analyzed, the rubber duck, the VHS videos, basically assisted and led to the conclusion that the objects were authentic and, you know, unknown. So he's gone out of his way to create experiments with all different types of objects to show exactly what they look like through FLIR, so that way you can see the differences and understand what it is that you're looking at, and that it doesn't match and is nowhere near any of these other objects that people are claiming them to be. So he's done a lot of work and has been very helpful in that field when it comes to analysis.
Interesting.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, anybody else want to pop up? I've got some people commenting on YouTube here. Nocturnal News. Hello, my UFO brothers and sisters. What's up, Darcy? You guys playing on the Bluetooth? I'll be listening. John Leonard Walson. Hey, what's up, John? Paul Demon. He says jetpack and jellyfish are NHI, or ancient advanced civilizations monitoring the airspace. For what? Don't know. Don't know, Paul. Where are they coming from? Maybe the ocean, maybe from space. We don't know. Does anybody else want to jump up and speak here?
I think it's a little. You shouldn't jump to these kind of conclusions when it comes to this thing. You know, with the subject. I think that's a really bad habit a lot of people have. They come up with these wild theories, you know, and I'm not trying to knock anybody in saying this, but we have to kind of really look at the subject in a realistic sense and not, you know, kind of inject that imagination into it, because in my opinion, it hurts the subject a little. It just makes it look like, you know, the people who are into this are really those crazy kooks that they like us, you know, make us out to be. So throwing things like that out there, in my opinion, is not a good way to approach the subject.
I would agree. It sometimes could be factored as lunacy, but maybe some of these people are right. Let's see. We got somebody else requesting here. Astral. What's up?
We
man?
got I believe we have Grider up here. He has his hand
Grider.
up.
What's up, Grider? I'm on desktop, so I can't see the hands. So, OSAP, if you can kind of help out, that'd be great.
I'm doing my best here. Grider got his hand up.
Yeah, go for it, Grider.
Yeah, hey, thanks, Darcy, for letting me up. Dave, I had a question about the jellyfish. Have you considered that it might be a helicite? And are you familiar with that technology?
I'm not familiar with that technology right now. I can look it up tonight and kind of make a comparison.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that was the conclusion that I came to, is that that's the only thing that I could think of. Basically, a helicite, it's a half balloon, half kite, and it's transparent through IR, and that could explain also like the strings are the tubes that we see within the jellyfish UAP. That could be explained as the wires for the various sensors. Basically, a helicite is a half like balloon, half kite, and they use it for surveillance, intelligence, reconnaissance, stuff like that. And it typically has strings that hang down. Usually it's about 8 feet off the ground. 8 to 10 feet off the ground is where it's tethered. Typically, if it's doing, surveillance, and stuff like that. So it kind of fits in with what Mike Sinkowski said during his various interviews. And yeah, I mean, I would just love to know what you thought about it after you took a look at, yeah.
That's
after you took a look.
That's great feedback or analysis, actually, Grider. I brought up the jellyfish, actually, because it is the one that I think out of the FLIR footage that is most contentious. Like I could actually, no offense, Dave, lean towards it being a party balloon. Maybe they use the party balloons to turn it into a helikite. I don't know, but what do you think, Dave?
Well, the only aversion I have to that is that the Mylar balloons are going to be highly reflective, especially with that MX-20. You're going to see, black and white gradients as the balloon would turn. Um, and then latex balloons are going to be almost transparent, fully transparent. But I'm very interested in the helicite theory now, so I definitely want to take a look at that and give it some credence. And it doesn't. It sounds like a military type application to where I wouldn't be able to like order one on Amazon, but I'd like to actually do an experiment to, you know, do the best I can to either confirm or deny.
So it's interesting because I've actually, like, I know that a lot of these things can be explained, away with our technology or possible, secret technology that we might have. But there's been incidents in the past with objects that kind of resemble what this looked like, that there wasn't really any real explanation for as to what it might be. Some of these incidents were captured on security surveillance cameras in very odd locations. One of them occurred, I believe, somewhere in Mexico, where an object that had a similar shape or similar look to it was seen coming down from the sky and approaching two military security guards. And they noticed it, stopped, and you could see that it kind of like startled them. They stared at the object, and you can see the object then lift, not like float up. It looked like it had some kind of actual thrust of something moving it up, and was also captured by two other security cameras in the area. So there was, I mean, if it's that close to them, they would have been able to see if it was something, mechanical or something of that nature. But they had no explanation for what it was. They had no clue what it was. It just basically baffled them. So there are incidents where things like that have been seen that really do not have any explanation.
Can I ask how fast was this object reported going?
I clocked it using Google Earth, and the best that I could with both of the videos, doing about 23 miles an hour throughout the entire thing. And it seemed like it was consistent throughout the entire video. It was a consistent 23 miles an hour.
Nick Gold has his hands up.
Maybe we can move on a bit from this subject. Thanks, Grider, for jumping up. You're welcome to stay up and offer feedback on other things that we bring up. But Nick Gold is on the stage here. Nick, why don't you say hi?
Hey, how's it going? I just wanted to mention I just Googled the helikites. I don't know. They are commercially available. They look like sort of a more traditional aerostat balloon, sort of melded with a kite, literally kind of hanging off the bottom. And it's pretty normal looking, so to speak. It's not as irregular and complex as the thing, whatever the jellyfish UAP video is. So it would have to have been either damaged and kind of moving along, maybe, or disguised in some ways. Um, sometimes like people do disguise other things that can make them look really different. It doesn't explain some of the FLIR irregularities in that video and stuff like that. But just like people might have seen like videos of people like putting like a sheet, like a ghost outfit around a quadcopter and like hovering them around people's like windows and freaking them out. And like, it doesn't look like a quadcopter, obviously, but it still is taking advantage of the aerodynamic properties of the quadcopter and just sort of masking it. So there's always a chance that it's something that looks more banal if we knew what it was, but is being sort of disguised for whatever reason.
Very interesting. I just want to add, guys, this is for the KGRA listeners. So this show is actually going to be piped out to KGRA, to their multiple streaming networks, and downloadable on Spotify and all that stuff tomorrow. And I want to introduce Nick Gold because I believe in what he's doing. I think he's got a really powerful platform. He's this like hyper intelligent guy in the UFO, let's say UAP community now. So from his Twitter page, he says US voters go to declassifyuap.org/action and in less than 30 seconds tell your representatives to support government UAP transparency and declassification. So Nick's whole thing, he's trying to fight kind of on Capitol Hill in a legislation, in a congressional engagement, whatever party people, we're all party people, whatever party representatives want to engage with this subject, that is his sort of thing. And Nick, can you kind of like elaborate on that? I'm dumbing it down here, but please tell us what you've been doing.
Yeah, I mean, just in a nutshell, I've been into UFOs since I was a little kid, which was the 80s, and stuck with that. And over the decades, especially in the last 7 years, since the New York Times article came out, that really did change everything. Um, I was paying attention. I've been part of some UAP science projects. I was with Galileo Project for a year. I'm currently an SCU member. And yet, one thing I wasn't really seeing a lot of about a year ago, even though there was several years of legislation affecting kind of UAP transparency issues that was put forth and passed, some of these reports coming out, some offices being created within DoD. Despite all that stuff, there weren't really the kind of organizations that you see in the DC area that cater to every other issue. Everything from the Save the Whales and the Black Lives Matter to major lobbying firms and nonprofits and environmental groups and PACs and super PACs and think tanks and you name it. So I thought what UAP transparency needed was the typical kind of org with a name that sort of is the cause, Declassify UAP, and it should have like an informative web page that's pretty grounded and doesn't shove scenarios down people's throats for like you have to believe in the issue in this particular way. It's really grounded based on official sources of information. And then it has the Action Center page that other issue websites tend to have, where you have the little form on the side and you can fill out a few fields, you press a button, and then it sends a message, encouraging UAP transparency and declassification and certain legislative steps to your own elected officials. It's for US voters specifically. And so, you're hitting your congressional rep, your House rep, you're hitting your 2 senators for your state, you're hitting the president and the vice president. And, then it gives you a call tool. So you can follow up by calling their DC office and, talking to their staffers and their aides and start to get into that pattern that many other issues that have some component that plugs into Washington, D.C. and governance have, but UAP didn't really have. And we collaborate closely with UAPcaucus.com, which is Lester Nare and Ronak Patel. We were actually in D.C. last week. We had probably, about 10 different meetings with various congressional offices and their staffers on both the Senate and the House side, some of the key offices that are really associated with this issue. And we met with some of their senior staffers that seem to be helping out with this issue, and had very productive conversations. So there's a little bit of that direct lobbying going on as well. But for that to be effective, we sort of need the numbers behind us. And so that's why we're trying to give tools, UAP Caucus and Declassify UAP, that allow the public to really engage around this topic like it's a political issue, which means you got to tell your reps that you care about it and then demonstrate that you're well educated about it and that you're paying attention to it. And you sort of have very specific asks that you're trying to make. Because we can go and knock on those doors, but the only reason we got any attention from those folks, which we did, we got plugged in with really the right folks in those offices to be talking to. And the reason is because there's a lot of people behind us making that noise, both through our efforts and other efforts. So that's what we're up to. We didn't get the UAP Disclosure Act this year, but we did get several very important UAP provisions that came into the Senate's version of the NDAA bill through the Intelligence Authorization Act, which kind of got squished into it, which is pretty typical. What's called a Government Accountability Office review of the Arrow office, which is pretty atypical for a 2-year-old office, indicates that maybe some folks in Congress, you know, don't have the feeling that Sean Kirkpatrick's Arrow was particularly productive or making good on all of its mandates, which include transparency to the American people and Congress. There's that. Further solidification of making illegal the funding of UAP programs that aren't being properly briefed to Congress. So those kind of like secret legacy program things, should they exist, you know, are explicitly called out as having to be briefed to Congress in the way that other what they call special access programs are. So, you know, we are making progress year over year. The trend line, that each point is kind of taking the line up and to the right, which you want to see. And every year, if we can keep making incremental progress, that's really good. And that's kind of what we've been about. Again, we're not trying to cram particular scenarios down people's throats for, you know, what even highly anomalous UAP are indicative of. Let people come to those conclusions themselves. Let's see what the actual evidence, you know, gives us. Our whole thing is like, let's see what the government actually thinks, because they haven't really shared that with us at this point. And we kind of deserve to know, as the American people who have been, yeah, fascinated with this topic for about 80 years now, since literally World War II. And, you know, it's coming up on a century, which is sort of ridiculous. And we feel the government kind of owes the public, you know, even what they think might be going on, right?
We need the truth.
Nick,
We need the
can
truth.
I ask you a question, Nick?
Yeah, Nick, go give it to him, Andy.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, and I'm asking this, you know, I guess you could say realistically. What do you feel is going to come from the government? I guess approaching or bringing this information forward to the public. Like, how exactly do you think the general public or the human race is going to benefit from the government coming forward and admitting anything in regards to this topic?
Well, I mean, I'm a believer in government. I think it's better than the alternative, which is either anarchy or ruled by warlords or, you know, the billionaire class. And I think, you know, the reason we have elected government is that it's supposed to be of the people, for the people, by the people. And there's a lot of imperfections there. There's obviously a lot of heavy duty financing of our government and elected officials and campaigns. There's mechanisms to change all of these things. Like, they got worse because certain people got in power and they changed it and made it worse. We can get other people in there and make it better. So I do believe in the power of government to solve problems. But it has to be closely monitored and has to be filled with the right people who are operating out of the right interests. My impression is that there's a lot of people in government, both on the elected official side as well as people who like work for DoD and work for the intelligence community, who believe that the public deserves more information on UAP. In fact, I'd almost say it feels like the weight of those realms is on the side of being much more open with the American people, and that's what I walked out of those meetings last week with. No, at no point did it feel in those meetings like anyone we were meeting with was under the impression we were talking about balloons. Like, you know, we're not even trying to cram a scenario down their throat. There's plenty of Stephen Greers and other people out there who have taken that approach over the years. They can do that. We're just really asking for the transparency in presenting some paths and also the deliverables that we're looking for. So I think these people believe in the cause, a lot of them, and we're giving them very specific like examples of the kind of stuff we want to see. On declassifyuap.org, there's a section I put together called the Declassification targets. It's what I thought represented actually lower hanging fruit, stuff that doesn't involve like any legacy programs necessarily. It's stuff that's kind of at the level of the more, you know, normal activities of the intelligence community and the DoD and even civilian agencies and their contractors. And it's stuff like clearer videos, clearer media, some characterizations of data, even if you're not giving us radar tapes. Like, can you characterize what your radar showed the tic tac doing, and describe it at least? What are the intelligence assessments? I actually have a FOIA request with Office of Director of National Intelligence now, and they actually told me that these intelligence assessments on what they feel the nature and origin of UAP might be, all possibilities at all confidence levels, is something that they're actually going to be sending over to the National Archives within the next month as part of the requirement from last year's NDAA bill. They said it explicitly. They said, Those intelligence assessments are part of the document collection we're now putting together, and it will be transferred to the National Archives. So, maybe there's something juicy that they think is in the set of possibilities, and maybe they'll give it to us. So I think it's good when the government starts to give us information that matches the reality that people have been observing for 80 years. Because when we have our authorities telling us a story that doesn't match reality, to my mind, it really creates a lot of problems, including a lot of distrust in government, in our institutions, in our elected officials, and our non elected officials. And we should have faith in these things, and we should have faith that they can work for us. And when it's telling us, like, oh, and by the way, I mean, there's that line from 1984. How many fingers am I holding up, Winston? No, it's 5, not 4. Like, whatever. It's like it's a mismatch between reality and what we're told the official version of reality is. And that's not a healthy scenario. And I do think that we're going to see more and more over the coming years, especially if the public keeps putting on pressure. My gut tells me that the trend line indicates, especially with the new director of Aero, that we're all kind of hearing some potentially positive things about. We might even get more between now and the end of the year, even though the UAP Disclosure Act didn't pass. I have a feeling we might get some more interesting tidbits. We'll see.
Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe it'll be more of the same. Maybe it'll be something cool. But with you around, you keep pushing it forward, man. But
Well, it's a group effort. I have to say, I'm like the least among us. Lester Nare, the founder of UAPcaucus.com, he was just on Weaponized with Corbell and Knapp. I recommend people watch that. He is literally the most articulate person I think the UAP movement has on our side. And he's brilliant. I got to finally meet him in person after a year of collaborating, as well as Ronak from UAPcaucus.com, also exceptionally articulate. They're very professional. They were very great in these meetings, face to face with these reps. They went over very well. We have folks like them. We have folks like Dr. Keith Taylor, who is a lifelong, law enforcement official. He really represents first responders because they're often getting calls from the public about I saw something, or I had a strange experience, or I'm having a problem because of something that occurred relating to this topic. And they don't have really a set of resources to follow when the public has these types of scenarios unfold. So we have people like him, and there's frankly dozens and dozens of others that are part of this movement, if not hundreds, if not thousands, and frankly including everyone who reaches out to their elected officials, because it's really about creating a movement. Like, yeah, there's going to be some people who interface more. I live in Baltimore, so it's very easy to get to DC, and I can kind of be in person to a certain degree. But without the numbers and without the movement, it doesn't amount to anything.
so true. But hey, one of your last points about trying to change legislation so that any illegal UAP program, like there can't, what was that last line?
So it's basically like, and this was actually part of last year's legislation, and they have to renew it every year, and it looks like it's getting renewed this year. It's, we talk about this legacy program, or like the, many decade old, sketchy UFO program or programs that might not be managed quite properly, might not be getting funded quite properly, and certainly don't seem like the people in Congress who are supposed to really have access to even the most classified information. This is the members of the so-called Gang of Eight, the top people, both in the 2 people on the Republican and Democrat side of both the House and the Senate, as well as the top Democrat and Republican on the House Intelligence Committees and the Senate Intel Committee. And so that those 8 individuals are really supposed to be like read into everything if they want to be. And it seems like those people have not been read in on some of these legacy programs, potentially. At least these are the allegations that are being made by some very credible individuals like Rush. So this law basically makes it, whether or not they have a direct, obvious enforcement mechanism, it at least makes it so those programs and they're being funded through potentially sketchy means that violate what's called the Federal Acquisition Regulation, which is the laws that kind of dictate how contractors have to work with the federal government. It makes it illegal for those potential contractors to receive any funding whatsoever relating to UAP programs from the government. either through contracts or through what are called IRADs, independent research and development efforts.
Contracts
And
like Lockheed Martin, Northrop.
yeah, like, we sell the government stuff and there's a contract and we're supposed to follow certain regulations for how that happens. I mean, I've sold contracts to the government. So, that law is important because at least it provides leverage and Congress can say, we're going to keep digging around. I think they have leads on where some of these programs are buried probably and who's involved with them from a contracting perspective as well as a department perspective. And they now have that power of the law behind them that says if you're doing this hanky-panky, it's against the law. And that means something. It means that there's potentially corrective mechanisms if they do uncover those programs. So that's useful.
Be careful there, man. I don't want you to get whacked by Lockheed.
I mean, it's funny, and I think this is an important part of my approach.
Hello, Boeing?
Here's the thing, Darcy. Like, I don't think of those types of organizations as enemies, frankly. I've done business with them. I've done business with federal agencies. I've done business with DOD and the IC. I've met lots of people and spent years, helping some of them solve technical problems of the vein that my career was oriented around, which is media management technology. And it's all just normal effing human beings. Like, there's a lot of really good people in those realms, a lot of patriots. I think this issue got screwed up a really long time ago, probably as far back as the 40s and 50s. And a lot of those people are dead. Like, they're not running it anymore.
Yeah.
But these feedback loops have occurred. And so institutions have been built over decades around treating this topic in a particular way. I think a lot of those organizations are ready to let go. Some of the recent word is, I have no privileged information on this, but it's like, apparently Lockheed actually potentially supported the idea of more properly transitioning some stuff they might have in their possession to a more properly managed contract and set of programs. Part of that is what both OSAP and then later the proposed Kona Blue program related to. And apparently, like Lockheed, this is again the word on the street, but I think George Knapp was even talking about it on that last Weaponized. Like, it wasn't actually Lockheed who put a damper on that. It might have been coming from the government or some other quarters. So I think we have to create the space for change to occur. And that means, for me anyway, taking more of an approach of trying to kind of create a truth and reconciliation process around the UAP topic and its multi-decade cover-up versus looking for enemies and looking for villains. I mean, if justice needs to be served in a few cases, there's always like the ceremonial heads that roll. And that's probably well and good if some sketchy things have happened. And we saw, David Grush in real time get smeared probably from a leak that came out of the IC. So that's bad, and someone needs to pay a price for that. But overall, I don't know if we can really look for villains for something that's been treated a certain way for 3/4 of a century. The win is moving beyond it and getting to a new phase where we have openness to at least a reasonable degree around the topic, and science can really start to dig into it and things like that.
Dude, I'm so glad you came up and spoke. Every time you speak, it's an intellectual conversation, and that's the way I want my spaces to be. Now I'm going to switch gears to another non-privileged information topic. I have spoken with Pavel. Seems like the nicest guy. He's here tonight. He's been filling me in a little bit on this object that's approaching Earth. I've gotten some flack about posting about it. I don't know, guys. Like, if you look at the basic calculations, if this object is 10 light years away, that is, if you're traveling at the speed of light, which is incredibly fast, that's 36.5 Earth years away. So I don't know how this thing is going to make it here by what's the prediction? 2027?
2027.
That's
Yeah.
the Ramirez thing. Everybody's posting these old, space discoveries of possibly finding life back in 2023 on another planet. People are saying that James Webb is holding back. The only thing that I could, I just don't know if I believe it. But how fast is this thing traveling? Again, 36.5 human years if it was to travel at the speed of light from where it is 10 light years away now. And on top of that, it's going to need to, I mean, there's just all these questions about it. What do you guys think? I'm going to throw this around to the panel. Astral, OSAP. We got a request here. Who's this? This is Pavel. Okay, he's popping up. Let's hear from Pavel. We're good, man. Welcome.
What's up, Pavel?
People at KGRA are going to hear you. So please articulate this story as best as possible, my friend.
Yeah, just want to preface this by saying that on my full video, it was taken out of context, a lot of what I said, because there was a clipping of one of the videos where it appears as if I am saying that this is going to happen or that this is real. And all I was doing was reporting on information I have about it, but I don't necessarily believe it's true. I just decided to report on it because I was told that this was being told to people within Congress, and that's the reason I reported it. I don't necessarily think it's true, to be honest with you.
But it's being
the news-
discussed in Congress, which is what you heard. That's
what I heard.
If it's true,
Yeah.
if it's true, right?
Yeah.
And I've put for people if they want to see who Pavel is, I've got his Twitter page open here. He goes by Seco Activo Pod. I think Seco Activo on YouTube. Go check out his videos. Cool guy, seems normal. But yeah, it's interesting. You've gotten some information supposedly from a Congress member, or
no? My source has a lot of different connections, and I decided to run this because we were both kind of confused to why this is happening. And he's in a position to know that something like this would be happening. That's why I felt confident. But it's not a congressperson per se. It's someone who deals with them constantly.
Okay. I see Nick's hand is up. Nick, if you can make it, actually, you know what? I've actually got for the stream that's online for people that are watching the video and for KGRA, I got to close out that part of the show, but I'm going to keep open the space. So I'm just going to play the outro. Hold on for 40 seconds, folks, and we'll be good to continue the conversation. Everybody, there's going to be an after show for subscribers on KGRA. If you want to go subscribe and listen to the rest of this conversation, that'll be up there. Thanks so much for checking this out. This is our debut show, Andy and I, and all the folks on UFO Twitter. All right, so I am back for the space, but I have ended the stream on KGRA. We can continue. We can continue this conversation. Nick, did you want to pop up and add some flavor to this conversation about an object that's approaching Earth?
I don't think my hand is up, but X is always tweaked, and this app kind of stinks, so it's probably just glitching. However, I will put this out there. It seems a little relevant. So the Space Telescope Science Institute used to be a client of mine back in the day. I live in Baltimore. They're actually on my regular walking route. I walk by their building probably 3 to 4 plus times a week when it's nice out, and I take my walks. They're about like 10, 15 minutes away from me. Very nice little corner of the edge of the Johns Hopkins campus. And they have an office of public outreach. That was actually who my client was way back in the day. And I think, I don't know who it ought to be. I actually know someone who works at the Office of Public Outreach, or a couple of people even. I might try to put some feelers out. The way I would broach it with them, that I would plan to, would be to say, listen, there are some of these rumors going around. They don't necessarily seem like they're terribly well sourced, at least for kind of where they're emanating from. Carson was asked about something the other day and gave a no comment, and a lot was read into that. You guys may want to get ahead of that a little more than you have and issue maybe a slightly more formal response. I have a lot of respect for James Webb and Space Telescope Science Institute. I hate to see them kind of get brought into the realm of kind of theories, and ones that might not necessarily be rooted in something, or they may be, but maybe I can use some of those connections that I have, and we possibly could gain a little more clarity, hopefully.
Yeah, team up. That could be cool. Pavel and
That would be
Nick
great.
Gold. Pavel and Nick Gold heading to Capitol Hill to get to the bottom of the object mystery.
I'm kind of far from there, but thank you for the offer.
And Pavel, if you want, you're more than welcome to like DM me if you have any links, any kind of summaries of what you've heard through the grapevine, and maybe a couple specifics that I could run by my contact there. Feel free to hit me up, and maybe we'll kind of be able to put something together and see how they respond.
Yeah, and I'm also in contact with a group of astronomers from Europe, and they are. I mean, everybody knows them, I think, but they told me that they want to, for now, just remain anonymous. But they are checking on data, and from the information that I got, and one of them did tell me that he saw that there was some missing data from James Webb. He's gonna give me a more clear picture, because I don't know jack shit about astronomy, but that's why I'm talking to him. And when he has a more visual representation of what he's come up with, I will share it with all of my audience and you. So I will let you know.
But Nick, how should we read into no comment from Rep Carson?
Well, I'll say this, just based on some background knowledge I have. When one is indoctrinated into a security clearance at a certain level, they literally call it an indoctrination. But it's like kind of your briefing, so to speak, especially for kind of first timers who are new to that realm. One of the things that would come up in such a briefing is how to respond to questions about potentially classified information. Now, not even necessarily real classified information. It's kind of like, what should your response be generically whenever anyone asks you and couches it even in terms of they think this might be classified? And the official answer that one is told to provide is, I can neither confirm nor deny. And that's often, unfortunately, just in the pace of our society, shortened to no comment. But it's really kind of a summarized version of I can neither confirm nor deny. And the reason that phrase is encouraged versus denials, even when something hasn't occurred or isn't accurate or doesn't exist, is because, first of all, they don't really want people, like the individuals with the clearances, to get into the habit of kind of being a source for people coming to them about classified information or even potentially classified information. It's not really the role those people would have. And so you're obviously not supposed to share any of it. And so it's to kind of shut the conversation down on one level. On the other level, it's kind of like a zero data response, because you're literally, if taking that full statement, providing that full statement, I can't confirm or deny. People might still read into it, but you literally haven't really weighed your answer in one direction or the other. Like, it's pretty generic, and you kind of technically can't read into it whether that's a confirmation, a denial, whatever. It's kind of I can't either confirm or deny it is a non-answer that really doesn't provide data unless one is geared around interpreting it in a way that it's not necessarily meant to be used. So I think the only way one would interpret no comment as being something special, like, oh, why didn't he deny it or say no, is if they're probably unfamiliar with how people who have security clearances are coached to respond to such questions.
Right. Pavel, I see your hand up. Let's get your retort on that, my friend.
No, I was just gonna add that it happens also with famous people that they just say no comment just to get the press out of their way if they're in a hurry or something. It could also be something related to that. It doesn't necessarily mean that he meant something by it, you know. But
Yeah.
also, I wanted to add that my information was that these were unclassified, and I think Matt Laszlo got a little lost in the way I asked him. But I did mention that they were unclassified. After it happened and all hell broke loose, I told Matt that that's what I was told, not that they were classified. So he's going to keep asking other people in Congress, but he's going to ask about both classified or unclassified.
Very cool, man. Yeah, let's
Darcy,
see.
can I just duck in with a quick statement?
Yeah, go for it.
The Space Telescope Science Institute also was where the center of Hubble science research was. And people might remember that at least portions of Hubble were like gifted from the intelligence community and their contractors that were like portions of a spy satellite, or it was modeled on a spy satellite that wasn't used. And that was Hubble, except instead of looking down, it was looking out, right? Um, obviously they had the Hubble to do science pointing out, but the fact that it even existed was really predicated on the fact that the technology had already been developed for surveillance purposes. Northrop Grumman built and helps maintain the operations of the James Webb. I guess the way I would look at it is if the US government really had interest in observing, maybe even over longer periods, interesting things, possibly technosignatures, whatever it might be, in deep space or whatever, or very closely, like I'll say very high fidelity even within our solar system, say in the way that the James Webb is capable of, chances are they probably had like another version of it that they built and launched and fly around that's specific for those purposes. The James Webb science schedule is like planned out years in advance for the most part. So it would be tough for them to like spot something with James Webb that was truly amazing, like that they would have to keep their eyes on with that particular instrument, because like it would instantly interrupt years worth of science mission planning. So like if there is something flying around in space that we're operating or Northrop Grumman is operating that's looking at interesting things that have impact, so to speak, or literally, haha, I doubt it would necessarily be using James Webb itself, and maybe just another platform that had some of that technology going on because they built it in the first place.
Yeah, actually, I did ask about this specifically if it was possible that there were either SAPs or private companies with better toys. Is there any technology that is superior to what James Webb can do? Does anybody know this?
I mean, if there is, it's classified.
Yeah, I think if you're talking about
Okay.
like systems that are in space, like James Webb, like the NORAD and the DoD would have something, but it's like, for defense purposes. So there's no way a civilian would know about it. I know the DSP systems were classified for a long time, but those are aimed down at Earth. That was the defense satellite program back. I think it first launched in the late 60s, and they decommissioned their later models like in the 90s. So they were active in space for a long time. And I did cover an object that was detected by the DSP by a UFO researcher, Ron Regehr. He worked for the company that built the DSP system back in like the 80s, and they picked up an object that stopped right in Earth orbit, and then took off. So, and that was like right around the time that the Iran 1976 mass witness sighting happened over Tehran, and pretty interesting stuff with that correlation. But you know what? Astral's got his hand up. Let's pop up the UFO Twitter week man himself.
Hey, what's up, man? Thanks for having me up and hosting. Appreciate it and great conversation. I've been trying to think of how to ask this question because what I've noticed is if you zoom out from people who don't know anything really about the topic, if you were to disclose them something like Roswell or some of these previous cases, or even something like Grush, there would be like, oh, okay, maybe some interest into it. But I think what I've found too, just in comparison, is some of the cases that are played out in the last couple of years, like even in that they don't end up being legitimate, but the Vegas case and the Miami case, is that it's almost like people start to buy in more when they're part of it playing out in real time. And I wonder if like that needs to happen, but not only that, but like having a team go to the location like days after so that they can really get to the bottom of it. So people who know about the UFO topic, know about how to research it, how to document on the ground, and then the team goes there instead of relying on like social media shit to kind of grow the information.
Well, essentially, that is what we do have. MUFON, New Fork, and a bunch of other like UFO civilian agencies that are apparently connected to the FBI and CIA anyways. But they are civilian organizations that will take reports like this and send investigators out. They'll pay for that investigation out of the membership fees and stuff like that. I'm not part of any of those organizations. I know that they're in Canada, they're in the US, but yeah, I think our generation is different, Astral. Like, we don't want to pay for shit. We don't want to be like, we kind of want to be solo or like friends with people and work independently, but we're just not really interested in, I guess, paying a subscription to being part of something we know we can just do for free out of our own interests, like this group, right? There's some hands flying up. I guess Astral, do you want to reply or what's up?
Oh, sorry. I think I was trying to get some people up too, but yeah, I think too, like just the response of, look, I think with the UAPDA, to me, 2024 hasn't been the best year. If you've looked at disclosure and even the expectation coming in, people were like, damn, 2024 is going to be that year. And I think that the combination of Arrow and the UAPDA, but now it also feels like there's probably a shift that needs to happen with, from control disclosure to catastrophic. I don't know what that looks like. I wonder what that means.
What'd you say, Andy?
I have a question that I'm curious to see what, whoever responds, the answer is. What exactly
Get that mic right
are...
up to your mouth, brother.
Shit, I can't get it any closer to my mouth. It's going to be in it.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
So what exactly, I guess I'll ask Astral or whoever wants to answer. What exactly do you want to get out of disclosure? What is it going to do for you in your life?
I mean, that's a good question. For me personally, it's not going to do anything. Yeah, it's gonna legitimize, I think, the conversations that I can have with other people that are going to approach the topic and take it more seriously. So it's less about me and more about the promotion of people who I think would be interested in this topic and the importance of it.
Destigmatization. That's a huge thing for sure. Like, you're no longer looked at as a weirdo in your family or your friend group.
So now, when you, I mean, the reason I ask, right, is because when we have these conversations, or at least when I listen to people having these conversations, they always base the entire topic off of the usual, like I guess you could say suspects, like the technology, and they bring in the politics and disclosure. But I ask it because I never really hear anybody talking about how that's going to change us. What are we going to gain from that? Who gains the most from this information? Like, you're talking about not just the existence of an extraterrestrial presence or multidimensional, whatever you want to believe in or think, but we're talking about beings that exist, that are capable of doing things on a level far beyond our comprehension, right?
Hi.
Hello?
Francis, do you have something to say, brother?
No, I just removed him from speaker.
Okay.
So my thing is exactly who, like, what person on this planet would actually be able, I guess you could say, would be trustworthy enough to wield that kind of technology? You understand? Like, with the things that we've already been able to see that they can do. What person on this planet do you believe is trustworthy enough to use that power, I guess you could say, for something positive?
No, we can throw it around to the hands. Pavel, you had your hand up. You can jump in, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it's just about the technology, because if what was done at, for example, on Stargate, is any of that real, like remote viewing and all these capabilities that.
Sorry, that was the X feature.
It's all good. What happened?
It was the mute button that's in the same exact place as the add person button.
Oh.
Okay. Keep going.
No, keep going, Pavel. Yeah.
Yeah. What I guess it's human nature is very difficult to understand, I believe. And I don't know if good or evil actually exist. It may be just a normal condition of humans. And I think it has a lot to do with that, on whether we're like ready to take that next step in the paradigm shift or not. And if I'm being completely honest with you, I think that the majority of the world may not take this, whatever it is, in the best way,
Oh, trust me, I completely agree with that. I tell Darcy all the time. I'm not a proponent for the whole positive outlook of this when it comes to humans, because when you look at how we treat each other now, nothing's really changed. We've actually gotten worse. So it's kind of embarrassing when you think about the fact that we're here now talking about this subject. There's a potential that this is going to come out where we are being visited and announced that we're being visited, and this is the way we behave still. You know what I mean? The things that we do to our own planet, the one thing that's keeping us alive, that that we exist because of it, and we don't even give a shit about that. So think about
and
what another race would think.
And it's pretty ironic, right? Because a lot of people keep talking about potential evil NHI or negative NHI, when we have a lot of evil people in here already. Like,
yeah,
we're not looking at ourselves really that much when we're talking about that. And I think that's a major irony in all of
Well, I
this.
think that it would be a lot easier for the public to accept Roswell, dead aliens, mummies, than it would be that a civilization or entities are beside us, interacting with us right now. I think that's too, like, okay, there's acknowledgement that we've interacted with us in the past. We've got their bodies. We don't need to worry about them. But then it's another thing to disclose, like, what's happening right now.
Yeah,
I think the biggest issue is the
speaking of
ego.
mummies, I think I met Pavel originally in a space where he's very pro mummy, very pro mummy cakes, and I was not pro. Well, I'll just be straight. I've always said, guys, there's something up here, but you know, I got attacked. I got defamed, and people were hosting spaces and stuff about me. That's fine. Let people be who they are, but if they're going to throw mud, they're definitely on my block list, and they're assholes. But Pablo, I think, you know, you're still just trying to take a healthy approach to this, and you know, you don't seem like an asshole, so it's all good.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand what the fuck that is, right? And if at the end I find out by my means, because I don't like people telling me, no, it's this, without me investigating it, that just gets on my nerves. I can't help it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I want. I just want to investigate it for myself, look at every single avenue that I can, and then I'm going to convince myself whether this is something or not, or, you know, and that's
Well,
it. I just don't.
you
Yeah.
approach it the right way, and I'm sorry to cut you. I just wanted to tell you this because I listened to your videos and stuff, and I don't pay attention to a lot of channels, but when I came across yours, I I resonated with it because you're very level-headed, and you think about things similarly to the way I do. Instead of trying to jump to these wild theories and conclusions, you try to actually use common sense and rationality in order to come to a, you know, a ground-based conclusion, something that could possibly be legitimate and real. So I just want to let you know that.
But let's be
Yeah,
clear,
agreed.
guys. No chain of
Pavel's a
Thank you.
good
Thank
one,
you.
man.
no chain of custody for these things. There's a museum now at Jaime's house. You can pay and
Oh,
sit
dude,
there,
dude,
watch and
dude.
look at them.
One thing,
Yeah.
that no chain of custody, I think is the biggest issue of
Yeah.
all of this.
Well, it's like
And
that with it's like that with any scientific find, you need a chain of custody.
yeah,
With
and I
a murder,
identified
with a
that.
murder case, you need a chain of custody of evidence, you know?
Yeah,
The,
yeah,
the evidence for
yeah.
this case has no chain of custody. So you can be unvetted and promote stupid ideas, or you can be smart, stand back and say, hey guys, something's not right here. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah, but that is different to those things are not real at all, you know? And I
well,
think we need to treat both things
what's
separately.
real,
I think.
you know, you could say what's real at all, and you could stretch that and then let people go off into leprechaun land, or you could
Oh yeah.
say these are not aliens, they are constructions of some kind, and it's a grift, you know.
But we won't know until all the data gets out, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, I'm just like kind of holding off, letting other people go down these rabbit holes, and then when there's enough data for me to make a firm decision, that's what I'm doing.
Well, the
But I agree that I think
documentary will come out. You'll have to all watch that. So
everyone will.
let's get some new people up. Hex, you've been around for a bit. Welcome aboard. Say hi.
Thank you, Darcy. It's an honor. I would say for me, there's multiple reasons. First and foremost would be the most basic, which is just to know. All of us have a fascination, and we just want to know. We want to know if we're, I guess, validated in a way that this passion we've had is something actually real. And how will it affect us? You know, what can we learn from them? What can we learn about them? And in a trade, what can we learn about ourselves and our possible origins and the nature of the universe? How will it affect things like our spirituality? And, you know, and I have a hope that this, even though it will cause madness in many people in many cultures for many reasons, because even everyday things do, but this as a whole, I'm hoping will help bring us together, you know, in an overview effect, a global unity effect. And it won't affect everybody that way, but for the most part, we can start working on some problems that way. You know, and it's also good to know, are we in any danger? Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your input on that, man. It's so true. A lot would change if some of this reality became mainstream and was completely accepted. Dr. Marcella, can you pop up and say something?
Hey guys, how's it going? Great space. I tell you what, it's one of my favorite topics ever. You know, if this was like a TV channel, it'll just be running at my house, 24/7. What I wanted to mention was more about, just in the future thinking. I see a positive. I feel like it's going to be positive because once all the data, the real juicy stuff comes out, all the information, it's just going to be a huge distraction. I'm talking a mega distraction. Can you imagine the hours you're just going to be pouring over the data? And then actually, once you get your hands on technology, I think there's going to be just everybody's just going to take off to the stars. People are going to go chase that peer or that asteroid that's worth, quadrillion amount of dollars.
When you say juicy data, though, what do you mean? Like,
The real, like, I'm talking 4K videos. I'm
oh yeah,
talking
Oh yeah, like the
high
4K Tic Tac,
everything.
the 4K Tic Tac.
Everything. And I'm talking like that guy who goes and like reviews all these new cars that are coming out. He's walking up to one and showing you like, hey guys, look at this thing, like it's just sitting here. Like it just opens up when I think about it, and then he
Yeah,
like walks in. Like once that stuff starts coming out, I think it's just going to be a big distraction. And those people that want to go to war with each other, the technology is going to be there where they can just teleport to each other and just be done with it. So I don't know, man. Let those guys fight it out, and we'll just enjoy the good technology.
the
That's where I
spoils,
see it
the
going.
spoils of
Yeah.
disclosure war. Well, I mean, you're talking about, in my opinion, like a transhumanist, human 2.0 future. Like if we could teleport, I think at that point we're like at the past the singularity event, and yeah, mankind is no longer what we used to be. No more boomers on the planet. That's for sure.
well, what does a smoke? I wonder, Darcy, what do you think? What does a smoking gun evidence now even look like? Even for video, is there even a possibility of that now?
Well, I think there's going to be shadow and doubt cast on every bit of truth that actually comes from this phenomenon. No matter what, that's going to constantly happen. It's like that is the counter intel op being played out on us constantly, right? For us to fight with each other, to have some prominent Twitter guy slagging this other guy that just released a book and saying, "Oh, I don't believe him," and all that stuff. It's like such a weird distraction because that is happening at the time that we all should just be like pushing forward together and finding out exactly what the DoD has had and all their affiliated partners for decades now in terms of UAP, crash retrievals, non human intelligence data, that type of stuff. But instead, it's like, my source says he's lying and like all this stuff. But it's like, why are you even yelling at him? You were on board with the fact that the government's covering this up and that there is an ATIP program, there is an OSAP program. There was reverse engineering, special access programs. Like you were all on board with that, but now you want to call out this guy after he's released his book. It's just like
Well,
that.
you know what's funny is when I read John Keel, he talks about this like exact thing going on like 40 years ago of like the the distraction of the inner community drama from the bigger goal of getting the topic out.
Yeah. Like, and they were homies like before, I'm pretty sure. I just, maybe they weren't homies, but it's, it's like they're connected uh, by this really close line. Like they're both friends with George Knapp. They're both friends with Corbell. They're, everybody that's, we're all communicating with each other. If you're a content creator, if you're a researcher, if you have something intellectual to say about this uh, phenomenon, you're not trying to throw mud at people. We all, want to know each other and uh, help each other, and that's just not helpful. It's a weird distraction. And yeah, John Keel predicted it. It's also part of divide and conquer tactics in operations, like whether it's a Russian op, whether it's a CIA or a DOD op or something. Like, divide and conquer is a great strategy to keep the conversation from looking legit.
What's up, Grider?
Anybody can come up and speak. Just go for it.
I'm just waiting for the day that lightsabers are on Price is Right,
Right. So I'm not trying to debunk Pavel or anything. I'm just, my understanding, which is not anything educated, like I don't have a degree in any science, disciplines or anything like that, but my basic understanding of how the James Webb Telescope works is that it takes pictures of like galaxies and it takes them in the infrared spectrum. So my understanding is that this ship would have to be so large, I mean, as big as a galaxy, and it would have to be extremely bright, right, to be imaged. Maybe Dave can talk about it better than I can if he understands, the infrared spectrum, which he does. Like, he definitely understands it better than I do. But if that's the case, then it just seems like it would be impossible for the ship to be imaged by the James Webb Telescope.
Pavel, can you give a little bit of clarity on that with regards to this object that's coming to Earth that you heard about? Did that get discovered by a European SETI agency?
No, those were the initial signals that came of modulation from 1999 and 2000s. That was the ESA discovery. That was different. And this other thing is what some people in Congress are being told about, which I don't know the specifics really. It's just what someone who speaks to them and communicates with them told me that it's happening. And that's what I reported on. I don't know the specifics of, I'm not an astronomer. I was very clear on that on my videos. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Anybody else want to add some flavor to that? Anybody else want to change the topic?
I think that's scary, man. If there's a whole civilization heading this way, it's like overloading a boat. We got too much already.
Dude, remember the show when we were like kids, Alien Nation? They like came here and landed and they became cops and like were integrated in society, and it was like a human cop and the alien cop fighting together to like
terrific. The movie I think had James Caan.
Yeah, the movie was with James Caan, but then they did like made for two.
Yeah, the TV series I remember being pretty halfway decent as well.
It was nice. I watched all of it when I was a kid. Like, I've been addicted to this type of stuff for a long time, right? But it was great. There was even alien.
We also had the problem V
sucking back like laundry detergent.
That's what I can't wait for, the food. Once it all comes out, they start speaking they come out there on the Late Show and they talk about things that they like, food that they drink, and it's going to be interesting. It's going to be so weird.
We got
That's if they even care to share that.
B up here. Sarah, say hi to everybody. Say hi to
hey
KGRA listeners too. Tell us about yourself.
Hey, Jason told me about the space that was happening today, so I wanted to pop up and say hi. Thanks for hosting, y'all. I initially requested because of this infrared signal that Pavel and Grinder were discussing. I'm a little late to the game.
Grinder.
Is there a like a link to
Thank you, Darcy.
somebody's post or anything about this?
Well, you can actually go to Pavel's Twitter page, and then he has like a link on his YouTube and stuff there, and you can watch his explanations, let's say. But not everything's out there that he knows yet. We don't know. There's a lot.
Hey, Pavel, do you think that they could be returning instead of arriving for the first time?
Something that really caught my attention is that there's people within the control disclosure movement who confirmed that this rumor was actually going on for years, and but it's just a rumor, you know. So I think that maybe I probably should have explained that being one of the long running rumors since like 2016, people have been adding stuff to it, and the James Webb stuff is like the most recent. And we've heard like Ross Coulthard reposted a video of him talking about this. Michael Ian Black also made echo on this, and other people who are like, I think they're in the know of all of this stuff. I am very peripheral to all of this group, but yeah, it is something that's been talked about for a long time, and yeah, the story keeps adding stuff, you know, like.
I remember.
Yeah,
2016 doesn't seem like that long though.
Yeah, it's not that long, but it's been like 8 years. It's quite a bit of time.
I remember hearing about like Planet X, you know, and the 10th Planet by Zachariah Stitchin and stuff like that, and Nibiru coming back to Earth on a reverse elliptical cycle through our solar system, and every time it does, it causes death and destruction, and the cataclysms begin, and lightning is shooting across the solar system connecting to planets, and that's how the trench in Mars was carved out by a massive lightning strike from a foreign body that entered our solar system. But wouldn't we have a lot better picture of that with our space telescopes and stuff if it was like 2 years away? And that's the other thing. Everybody's connecting this like Ramirez prediction of 2027. You can't stop this, can't touch this MC Hammer alien dance happening. Like how are you not seeing 2 years away a 10 light year away object that, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't add up to me for the 20.
We also have the Nemesis
I
theory.
don't know. I don't know if they're
my telescope's not good enough to view something. My Walmart telescope.
Yeah, so supposedly Phil Schneider had a 2027 prediction. I think John Lear is even, being somehow quoted as having a prediction. Yeah, John Ramirez, Chris Bledsoe has one. I think maybe even Elizondo has made a couple of comments, a couple of cryptic comments.
2027.
It's a pervasive thing.
2027 was posted about on Project Camelot back when I was 19 years old, first started looking into ufology. And there were people saying that was the year of disclosure. I turned 40 in 2 days, guys, believe it or not. So it's been a while.
Congratulations.
And like 2027, I don't know.
Do you think that
these dates do come and go?
Do you think, like, besides
Mayan
just
calendar
the
was wrong. The world did not end in 2012.
Sorry. Do you think the year itself, just the number 2027, could just be a nod to something and not necessarily a date?
I think for me, it's almost like the community.
Like, what if it goes deeper?
Feeding off of a rumor, and everybody's feeding off the rumor. And because 2027, like I said, was predicted back when I was 19, over 20 years ago, because that date has not come to pass yet, people are still thinking that there's a ton of energy and prophecy and power behind it. And I just hate to see everybody get tied up in 2027 and then all of a sudden it comes to pass and we're like, yep, just like 2012.
Well,
Yeah,
2012 is not settled.
I think that we're also
We
missing
could argue that
something.
1952 was a year of disclosure too, since Truman, an actual president, announced that flying saucers were real.
He did?
After the DC flap. Yeah. He didn't come on and say, my fellow Americans, we're not alone.
Yeah,
But he did say the flying saucers.
I think that document, I think the provenance of that document is in question.
I think he said it on a radio show, actually. I just can't remember which one.
Did he?
I don't know. That would be news to me. But guys, I love you all. Thanks for coming to the first KGRA show and after show. There's going to be more. Like, we're going to do one a week. It's going to be every Wednesday. So I definitely want you to pop up and speak if you haven't had a chance this time around. Come to the next one. We'll open up with a different topic. And yeah, it's I'm piping this through to the KGRA podcast. So there's over 200,000 downloads a month there. And, your voice gets to be heard within a greater community. So thanks for popping up. Thanks for being polite, cordial. We don't need the mudslinging and douchebaggery here. You'll immediately get kicked from future spaces if you're like that. Much love to you. I'm going to close this down and, follow everybody that's a speaker up here. Keep in touch. Take care.